little bit of Will the Circle Be Unbroken. I'm looking today again at this free handout I've got. You can get this for nothing. There's a link in the description. It's called Bluegrass Guitar Breaks from the Ground Up. Okay, and this is the third in this video series, and we talked a little bit about the lyrics and the melody. We talked a little bit about it's what you play in between the words, fills, call and response, you know. And then we're going to talk now about double stops. And there are 3 different double stops types that I want to talk about. Okay, the first one is drones. Like if I were to keep this G note ringing while I played something else. Okay, or same thing, G note ringing. It's a really easy way to do harmony. It goes back. I'm sure it's in a bunch of different cultures, but it's definitely in the Scotch and Irish tradition, and bluegrass has got a lot of influence from that, along with other things like the blues and stuff like that. But the drones is really a thing. Just one note ringing the whole time. Okay. So another type is double stops that are based out of the scale. And these, if you go through the theory on this, it's thirds and sixths usually, okay? You could do anything, but it's thirds and sixths. So it's basically, that means 3 notes apart. So if I go G, A, B, I take the G and the B, okay? So here's G and B, that's a third note apart. And if I played a scale on the G, and if I started that scale on the B, now I'm still the same key of G, it'd be a harmony. And then I could do that together. And that's a scale in double stops. That's a scale in thirds. Okay? If I put the G on top, and I put the B underneath of it, and I play them at the same time, they call that a scale in sixths because they're 6 notes apart. It's kind of weird how whoever came up with the terminology, but there it is, okay? So those are really common things to learn, okay? Now, you say, boy, that's going to be hard because how am I going to think of every scale and every note? But have you ever heard things like this? What are the major chords in a key? Okay, well, yeah, sure, it's the 1, 4, and 5. What are the minor chords in any key? Well, it's the 2, 3, and 6. Okay? So 1, 4, and 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. And 7's diminished, and we'll talk about that. But 1, 4, and 5 are major. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. Okay? Well, if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 1, the 4, and the 5 all end up having the same, let's call it a shape. The 2, the 3, and the 6 all end up having the same shape. And then the 7th, it's diminished, but we can basically, it's the same as the minor shape because it's just the 3rd. And then you're back to the root again, the 1. So if you learn what the major shape is and what the minor shape is, you could actually play a scale in thirds all the way up without really doing a whole lot of thought about what notes are in the scale. Same thing with the scale in sixth. If that's the major shape, that's going to work for 1, 4, and 5. If that's the minor shape, that's going to work for 2, 3, and 6. There's your 6. And then the diminished, and then the diminished is basically the minor because it's the root and the 3rd. Okay, now that works everywhere on the guitar, even though like the shapes can be different on different strings. So a lot of times I'll have a melody that goes like this. do, do, do. And I'll play a little scale in thirds to start that out. Okay? So the scale in thirds or the scale in sixths can be really useful. That creates double stops. So far we've got drone double stops. We've got a scale in thirds or scale in sixths. Those are really useful things. And then probably the most useful to me is double stops that come from a chord. Okay? Piece of cake. Here's a G chord. It looks like an F, but it's 2 frets higher than an F. There's a double stop. There's a double stop. There's a double stop. It's just the 2 adjacent notes are the double stops. You know, Chuck Berry, when he plays Johnny Be Good, he's using his whole chord and he's using these as double stops. He's using actually the low part of the chord. That's all it is. Well, that doesn't take a college degree to look at a chord and think, well, I bet if I play 2 of those notes, it will work. You know, I wonder what double stop I should use over a G chord. Well, how about just 2 of the notes of the G chord? That's a good idea. You know, people go to college for this. This is not that hard, right? Yeah, just 2 notes out of the G chord, and you're sitting there looking at the G chord. There you go. I always, if for bluegrass, you know, I hate to say always, right? But I put the melody here, and I put the harmony as a higher note. So if my melody note is B, my harmony note might be that D note, right? In a G chord. So what I do is I look at the melody and I look at the chord at the same time. Will the circle... Now that I might do with a drone. Be unbroken. Still on a G chord. By and by, Lord, by and by. Say by and by, Lord, by and by. That's a C chord, back to G. By and by, Lord, by and by. Well, if you hold part of the chord, it'll be automatic. I hold that for C. By and by, Lord, by and by. Back to G. No hands. Look, Ma, no hands. Well, I don't need them, because these 3 are open on G. There's a better home awaiting. Well, that would be home awaiting in the sky, Lord. Here's a D chord. You can do it like this. In the sky. Or so now I've got a whole double stop solo. That sounds good with the chords, okay? Now, to that, I can go ahead and add those fills we talked about in the last video, those little in-between phrases. There, oh, let's see. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. So put a little fill in those spaces. Now the double stops and the fills, I've really got something. Foundation for anything to build on. And that could be a full break all in itself. Now I'll say this about double stops. is they sound better when they go along with the chord. Sometimes people really latch on to this scale in thirds idea, and they think that that's always a harmony. Like the only harmony that exists is a third, and it does sound like a harmony, right? But it won't match the chord changes unless you change chords. So I do little bits with that scale in thirds, but mostly I work off of the chord shape. So like when I'm on a G chord, I'm getting my double stops from the G chord. When I'm on a C chord, I'm getting my double stops from the C chord. That's just as much of a C chord as this is. Okay? That's a C chord, D chord. So really, my best recommendation is really lean on using the chord for the double stops. Learn the scale in thirds too. It can be useful. Okay? All right. Thanks for watching. I've got classes and stuff I teach on this. Get the handout and learn about some of these things that we're talking about. And like and subscribe and all that stuff you normally do. And let's improvise. Let's play about 3 or 4 takes on Will the Circle Be Unbroken, see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Thanks a lot.